everyone, and welcome to the latest Tempo Storm Wild Meta Snapshot breakdown for Scholomance Academy. We're a few weeks into the new expansion, and now that things have settled down in the Wild meta, one thing's become abundantly clear: Reno Priest and Darkglare Zoo Warlock have a stranglehold on the format. These two decks now rule the roost, and if you're not playing one of them, you need to be prepared to beat them. As for the other decks in Wild, many of the best decks from Ashes of Outland haven't adjusted well to the Scholomance meta and have been knocked down to the depths of the lower tiers. Other decks have seen enough of an update from Scholomance to stay competitive, or have found a way to fight back against the Priest and Warlock menace. So which decks have what it takes to keep up? Come join our Wild meta experts as we track the format's latest developments. As always, be sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel and ring the bell to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Now let's begin. Thanks to Scholomance Academy, Reno Priest has developed into one of the most oppressive forces in the meta. The classic combo of Shadow Reaper Anduin and Raza the Chained, along with the Highlander package with Reno Jackson and Zephrys the Great, has always given Reno Priest the tools to overcome most matchups, but before Scholomance, it had issues dealing with enemy combo decks, along with issues with drawing the Raza Anduin combo consistently. Now, thanks to Mind Renderer Lucia, Reno Priest can fight back against combo decks by using their win conditions against them, and thanks to Lorekeeper Polkelt, Reno Priest is rarely stuck waiting for the Raza Anduin combo or other key cards. With this level of consistency, many players are going to extreme lengths to find a way to counter the deck, ranging from adding bombs to the deck to neutralize their Highlander cards, to using a combo with Grizzled Wizard and Surfinly Murgleton to replace their Shadow Reaper Anduin hero power. Even against this kind of tech, Reno Priest is resilient and can usually find a way to win outside of the combo. Of course, Reno Priest is only one side of the coin in the Scholomance Academy meta. Darkglare Zoo Warlock is the other side, and it's one of the scariest decks we've seen in Wild in some time. Darkglare Zoo Warlock uses its namesake card to turn self-damaging cards into extra mana, then uses that mana to build an overwhelming board complete with massive giants, and it can all be done as early as turn 3. Simply put, most decks aren't equipped to deal with an army of giants on turn 3, even in Wild, which makes this deck particularly problematic, but it's not completely unbeatable. Some decks are equipped with removal to deal with large boards early, while other decks try to fight back by taking advantage of the Warlock's self-damaging tendencies and going face. Even though counterplay is possible, savvy Darkglare Warlock players can use Cult Neophyte and Loatheb to stop enemy removal, and use Lesser Amethyst Spellstone and Animated Broomstick to stay healthy against aggro. And thanks to Warlock's critical massive card draw, Darkglare Zoo is as consistent as it is fast and powerful. With both Darkglare Zoo Warlock and Reno Priest at the top, the meta is stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can try to counter one or the other, but it's extremely hard to counter both. Reno Priest and Darkglare Zoo Warlock may have tier 1 on lock, but there are still a few other decks that can compete. For instance, we have Kingsbane Rogue, which has the power and speed to race virtually any strategy, thanks to its quick board development with pirates, along with its rapidly growing weapons. Scholomance Academy has been very kind to Rogue, with the additions of Secret Passage and Cutting Class, which means Kingsbane Rogue has more gas in the tank than ever before. It can hold its own against both Darkglare Warlock and Reno Priest by simply threatening lethal before their power plays can come online. Even with this level of power, Kingsbane Rogue narrowly misses out on tier 1 on account of being easier to counter than the other two decks. With cards like Galactic Crawler, Gluttonous Ooze, and even Kobold Sticky Fingers running around, Kingsbane can have a rough time if the meta decides to target it. However, with all eyes on Darkglare Warlock and Reno Priest, Kingsbane Rogue can fly under the radar and easily rack up wins on ladder. Odd Rogue is also doing quite well in the Scholomance meta, again thanks to new Scholomance staples Secret Passage and Cutting Class. Between those new cards and the upgraded hero power from Baku the Moon Eater, Odd Rogue has the resources to maintain a powerful weapon of its own to fight back against hordes of warlocks and priests. So why play Odd Rogue over Kingsbane Rogue? While Odd Rogue is generally a little slower and more reliant on the board, it's also more resilient against hate like Kobold Sticky Fingers that would cripple Kingsbane. It also has an extra edge against Reno Priest thanks to Beneath the Grounds, which disables Highlander cards like Reno Jackson and Raza the Chained. Even with the extra tech and a more measured pace, the deck is still capable of beating down its enemies quickly with large weapons and burst damage thanks to Deadly Poison, Volpira Taxon Blade, and Leroy Jenkins, which means that Odd Rogue is more than competitive. Big Shaman is another deck that remains competitive on the basis of raw power with a little extra help from some new cards out of Scholomance Academy. In particular, Lightning Bloom takes Big Shaman to the next level by allowing it to pull off combos with Ancestor's Call or Eureka as early as turn 2. Not much can compete with minions like Yashiraj, Rage Unbound, or Scrapyard Colossus if they hit the board that early, which means that Big Shaman can overwhelm virtually any opponent with a strong enough draw. But what happens if you don't high roll the turn 2 Yashiraj? Against aggro decks like Kingsbane Rogue, you're still in fine shape if you can eliminate their minions and land an early Scrapyard Colossus or Walking Fountain, but against Reno Priest, it can be tough to fight through their endless waves of removal. Still, Big Shaman has some of the most explosive draws in the game, so even if it's not the most consistent deck in Wild, it has the potential to be one of the most powerful. Secret Mage is another deck that's holding strong in Tier 2, but unlike some of the other decks, it hasn't received much help from the new set. Instead, Secret Mage maintains its spot thanks to its classic combination of disruptive secrets, AoE board clears, and over-the-top damage. With Quest Mage being pushed out of the meta by aggressive decks like Darkglare Warlock and Kingsbane Rogue, Secret Mage is again becoming the most popular mage deck in Wild. Secret Mage is always good against undertuned decks, but how does it fare against Scholomance Academy's finest? Against Darkglare, explosive runes can help buy time to finish the opponent off with direct damage. Against Reno Priest, it can be challenging to fight through the waves of removal and healing, but with Alunith, all things are possible. It's particularly hard to counter the meta in the Scholomance Academy era, since the two best decks have drastically different game plans. If you build your deck to fight off Darkglare Warlock's explosive early game, you can leave yourself open to Reno Priest's inevitable late game, and vice versa. Is there any deck that can stand up to both? Fortunately, there is. Bomb Warrior is a rare deck that can fit in a cohesive plan against both Darkglare Warlock and Reno Priest, so it deserves a closer look. Against Warlock, Bomb Warrior has mass removal with Brawl, Lord Barov, and Risky Skipper that can easily deal with a board full of giants. Against Priest, Bomb Warrior can use Wrench Caliber and Clockwork Goblin to load the deck full of bombs and turn off the Priest Highlander cards. Against both decks, the Risky Skipper and Armorsmith combo can ensure you have enough armor to stay alive until you can find your way out of tricky situations. With strong matchups against both Tier 1 decks, Bomb Warrior is a solid pick for laddering as the Scholomance meta develops. Altogether, Scholomance Academy has rocked Wild to its foundations, with two dominant decks coming together to resculpt the format in their own image. While Reno Priest and Darkglare Zoo Warlock hold the top spots for now, the Wild meta is still adjusting, and we're seeing decks like Kingsbane Rogue and Bomb Warrior do more than hold their own. Will they be enough to dethrone the new Twin Kings of Wild? Check out the full meta report on our website for all the details, and as always, be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Thanks for watching!